Rap and hip-hop culture is directly influenced from mainly African American, Afro-Caribbean, and American street culture. African American culture takes its heritage from a blend of its past. This consists of European, Native American, and Native Indian cultures. These few cultures have helped shape what we know of American culture today. This includes food, fried chicken, hush puppies, and cornbread. Dance, more recent, the Dougie and Millie Rock. Hair, such as cornrows, twists, locks, and high tops. And music, gospel, jazz, blues, and funk. Evidently, throughout history, the overarching theme of African American culture is taking the negative and turning it into positive, which is what led to the creation of hip-hop in the mid-70s in New York. From dealing with oppression, racism, and hate, African Americans, along with other minority groups, took advantage of the resources they had and re-engineered them into culture. All of a sudden, subways and walls became beautiful and colorful canvases, and the streets and underground buildings became a place of gathering to sing, rap, DJ, and dance. Rap itself is a form of poetry that was partly inherited from West Africa when the slaves were taken and would sing hymns across the Atlantic, and storytellers would tell their stories through rudimentary song making, clapping, tapping in support of the vocals. In more years, the lyrical content of many rappers has been one of overcoming past struggles, simply because this was their reality, and so was birthed the term street influence. Rap and hip-hop has never claimed to be picture perfect, and can express itself freely. It has made it easier for people to relate to, and this has deemed it so mainstream that now it has its own subcultures in this culture. But I want to pose a question, that if rap is now considered so mainstream in this day and age, why is it that rap and hip hop artists are still put in the box of, that's all you can amount to, and if you attempt to step out of said box, we'll throw you back in? By this I mean, we have established that rap and hip hop culture is mainstream, but it's still not acknowledged as part of American culture, especially not by political standards. The history and come up of this subculture has made it apparent it is America, and it makes American culture what it is. And without it, there will be a big void. So why does this culture not get included in the bigger picture? A recent example is when Tyler the Creator, an artist who's predominantly, throughout his career, been known as a rap artist, but recently dropped an album, Eagle, which was not rap or hip hop, but rather R&B and pop. And yet, at this year's 2020 Grammy, we saw this artist be put in the same box and be grouped in the category of Best Rap Album alongside Revenge of the Dreamers by Dreamville, Champions by Meek Mill, I Am, I Was by 21 Savage, and The Lost Boy by YBN and Cordae. Tyler the Creator's album looks out of place in this category, but because of his history as an artist, this is all the Grammys saw him and his work as. The fact that an artist like Ed Sheeran, who had more rap elements in his album, was still nominated for Best Album of the Year, shows that hip-hop cannot transcend cliches. Tyler himself spoke out against this.
On one side, I'm very grateful that what I made could just be, acknowledged in a world like this. But also, it sucks that whenever we, and I mean guys that look like me, do anything that's genre bending or that's anything, they always put it in a rap or urban category. And I don't like that urban word. It's just a politically correct way to say the N-word to me. So when I hear that, I'm just like, why can't we just be in pop? Why can't it just, you know what I mean? So I felt like half of me feels like the rap nomination was a backhanded compliment. Like, my little cousin wants to play the game. Let's give him the unplugged controller so he could shut up and feel good about it.
Tyler, although, did not express that he was unhappy or ungrateful with this accomplishment, but rather Tyler's frustration was justifiable, taking everything into account.
With most music genres, one can always expect a few key elements that make up the bulk of its music. But when pondering indie music, no common elements really come to mind. Indie is not a style of music, it's a philosophy, adhered to by someone wanting control over their creative work. The term indie traditionally refers to independent art, music, film and literature that is not belonging to a major record or film company. It was used to define an entire subculture of idealistic artists and music fans who believe making music for yourself or a small group of people rather than commercial success, profit or popularity. Mainstream implies a large-scale commercial media industry that values money more than art, where indie culture derives its identity from challenging the mainstream, since it connotes small-scale, personal and artistic. It was founded on the belief that self-publishing and self-releasing was better than going through the system.
While digital disruption has upended the business model of the music industry, some artists have managed to harness the technology to forge careers without promotion from old-fashioned record companies.
Indie is not just a genre, there isn't a formula to adhere to, but rather a mere business strategy. Musicians take on multiple roles during the creative process, which include writing, producing and marketing, while maintaining complete creative control. While music industry fat cats called it a lack of professional quality, fans began to prize this arts and crafts aesthetic for its authenticity and charm. The story of indie music as we know it begins in 1977 with Buzzcocks' Spiral Scratch EP. This EP is widely recognised as rock's first independently funded and distributed disc. The fact it sold out its original pressing of 1,000 copies and then went on to move a further 15,000 copies effectively created the blueprint for independent labels. Many bands would replicate this DIY approach to their music, taking the creative and financial control away from the labels.
Everything he does is self-produced and self-recorded, either in his bedroom or this cluttered, gear-filled garage in Los Angeles.
The indie movement gained popularity during the 80s with the release of bands such as R.E.M., The Smiths and Joy Division. The sounds produced were without limitations, combining elements from multiple genres of music while experimenting with unique recording techniques. The adoption of indie music by the corporation started in mid-1990s when Nirvana exploded onto the mainstream. Their success and wildly loyal fan base convinced mainstream radios and labels that their kind of music could be popular. With the use of the internet, streaming and social media has given indie artists a way to release their music to a wider audience than ever, without the backing of a record label. The internet has changed how businesses can get their product to the world, allowing for even the smallest of music labels to become available to the masses. Canadian artist Mac DeMarco is a good example of a successful indie artist in the digital age. He runs his own record label and records all his albums in his home studio.
It happens nearly every single day in his garage, recording song after song.
I like this. Yeah. Just garbage, but fun to make. Yeah.
His sound is defined by his DIY approach to writing and releasing music. His latest album, Here Comes a Cowboy, peaked at number 10 on the Billboard charts, and his song Chamber of Reflection has been streamed 118 million times on Spotify. According to critics, indie is now nothing more than a branding tool, a highly commercial and money-driven movement more concerned with marketing a particular image instead of a culture with a truly independent nature and passion for their art. The multitude of ways in which one can fundraise, create, share and distribute allows for more accessibility and better distribution for smaller labels and imprints. Video uploading sites like YouTube allow aspiring filmmakers to showcase their work to potentially millions of people without viewers ever having to step inside a movie theatre. The DIY aesthetic seems to be alive in a way that has never been before. While technology is an integral part of the current DIY culture, has it diluted the intimacy that the scene used to define itself?
The modern culture of electronic music has its roots in the emergence of house music in 1980s Chicago. This genre, pioneered by legends such as Frankie Knuckles, gained popularity globally due to its catchy rhythmic nature and unique style of production. House music is a genre that evolved from disco through record sampling and replacement of live performance for new technologies like drum machines and synthesizers. As a genre that was once popular in underground rave scenes, predominantly amongst the black and gay community, the cultural values of this scene have transcended generations. Today, the term EDM, or electronic dance music, is the widely used moniker that describes a set of percussive genres of electronic music, with tracks that are designed for playback and club environment. The moniker known as EDM is a product of commodification. It began as a countercultural movement of underground parties and illegal raves, has now become a lucrative business endeavor, where festivals worldwide are selling tickets for hundreds of dollars each, every year, and top nightclubs around the globe are spending thousands of dollars every night on high-profile DJ performances. British house pioneer Carl Cox says, EDM is an entry level to dance music, and I'm very happy about that. We fought for so long for dance music to be respected there. EDM is the sound that America has latched onto, but once people start going left and right of that scene, they're going to find their art departments, their loco dices and their Sven Baths, and that's a really good place to be. With EDM exhibiting so many different subcultures of genre and style, it's fair to also note that these communities cross over with many other subcultures of music. For example, subgenres of the electronic music world such as trap and dubstep could be likened to heavy metal or rap music due to shared cultural practices such as moshing and headbanging, which is something that is not observed at EDM festivals or house parties. Lauren Ashton, also known as Bass Nectar, serves as a guiding example of such a crossover, with his musical background being in the metal scene. It wasn't until he went to his first rave in 1995 that he discovered his passion for rave culture and the music associated with these scenes, such as dubstep. With so many cultural levels and sectors of one community, this kind of diversity brings a wide variety of personalities together and allows people an opportunity to discover their tastes and scenes. Whilst genre and style enable a subcultural divide, commonalities across the entire music world allowed artists like Bass Nectar to develop a unique perspective and approach to music which has seen him have major success and become an industry legend. Electronic music scenes are built on this kind of acceptance and freedom, and given that house music was especially popular amongst the gay community and its emergence in the 1980s, the cultural values have evolved in kind. The distinguishing elements that separate subcultures of music in the present day are constantly becoming less obvious. The concepts of all electronic music have influenced and brought together the most unlikely of artists and people, and have seen hugely influential artistic styles emerge as a result. What remains to be the defining concept is tolerance, acceptance, and an emphasis on open-mindedness. On that note, it can be said that subcultures which exist throughout society today all share a commonality, in that to be connected to any of the aforementioned subcultures is to be mutually connected to all people from all different walks of life. People who exhibit vastly different personality types come together through musical culture every day, all with the desire to find peace and escape from the realities of their daily life.